Hi everyone, I'm Olivia from the University of Strathclyde, and today I'm going to tell you about a user study I conducted which investigates how banner advertisements affect users when they're completing a specific information-seeking task. We all know that ads are everywhere, but did you know that the average person is currently exposed to between 6,000 to 10,000 ads every day? This figure has dramatically increased since the 1970s. But why? Because users nowadays are using digital devices to retrieve information that is important to them. Roughly 3.6 billion users browse social media accounts. E-commerce has seen an unprecedented growth, and roughly 72% of the general public rely on the internet to seek health-related information. Now, all of these figures are from before COVID, and so I would assume that this is just going even higher now, considering the whole world has been forced to communicate and work remotely. So with this increase in online activity, online ad presence is also increasing, and advertisers are constantly competing for a user's attention to make sure that their ad will be the most viewed and clicked. So this has created different types of ad, such as personalised ads or more visually catchy ads such as animations or interactive advert games. However, although research is focused on retrieving clickable ads or improving an ad's engagement, little research has focused on how the presence of ads are actually affecting a user, especially when they are trying to retrieve information online. So to inform my hypotheses, I summarised relevant background literature into 3 themes, and this has created expectations for what might happen to users when ads are present compared to absent. So firstly, many people think they ignore ads. Many people find them annoying and distracting, and so under this concept of banner blindness, if ads are ignored because they're annoying, then search behaviour or performance should be the same, regardless of whether ads are present, because if they're ignored, how can they affect something? However, although people think they ignore ads, eye tracking shows that users still look at ads, and in other studies when no fixation has occurred, the concept of clutter exists. And this is where objects that are visible in a user's peripheral vision can overload a user, and this causes them to perform search tasks less accurately and slower. So if ads are creating clutter, then this would also reduce search accuracy and increase the time spent completing a task. Now, there's lots of research that doesn't explicitly examine clutter, but instead it analyses what happens when more elements are introduced into a web page. And generally these studies have found that extra things to process result in more negative search experiences. Now, as ads are another element to process, I would expect similar negative experiences to occur. However, other studies have found that images can stimulate engagement, and this inspires people to search more, and in turn this then increases their search accuracy. So as many ads are images, maybe ads will actually be positive for a user's search experience and performance. So pulling all of this together, you can see that when ads are visible, anything could really happen. They might be ignored, they might help people search, or they might make things worse. So to understand how ads affect users, 37 participants completed 4 search tasks from one of the TREC test collections. So this is where participants are given a topic and asked to use a system similar to Google to basically issue queries and find relevant documents. This allows a variety of metrics to be gathered to assess a user's search behaviour and their performance, such as how many relevant documents did they save. So in one condition, no ads were visible, like here, and then the other 3 search tasks did have ads visible, and they were positioned in locations shown here. Ads were always static banner ads, and more information about how they were sourced is in the paper. But mainly, the 3 ad conditions varied on how relevant the ads were to the topic. So for example, with the topic of tropical storms, a relevant ad would or could be promoting, say, the National Disaster Search Dog Foundation, and simultaneously it will show visual imagery of destruction and rubble. But because the focus of this specific research is just on a general effect of ads, the metrics gathered from the 3 ad conditions were averaged to devise an overall measure of ads, and this left 2 groups to compare, no ads versus all ads. Additionally, in between each search task, each user completed short surveys, and these assessed how much they learned in the task and gathered richer experience of how users felt the task was and their own perceptions and thoughts about the system. After conducting statistical analysis, in terms of behaviour, a significant difference emerged regarding the overall time spent completing the search task. Participants took almost a minute longer when ads were present compared to absent. So additionally, when no ads were visible, participants were much faster to save their first relevant document, taking only 66 seconds compared to 88 seconds when ads were present. Now, other than time, no significant differences occurred between conditions for search behaviour. So for example, average query length, the number of relevant documents hovered over, and the number of relevant documents clicked on were all really similar. But an interesting point did emerge, and that was, despite hovering over and clicking on almost the same number of relevant documents, participants hovered over and clicked on more documents overall. So this implies that users were potentially more distracted and hovering and clicking on more irrelevant documents when ads were present. However, even though participants were looking at more irrelevant documents when ads were present, this didn't really affect their task performance, as participants saved the same amount of documents in both conditions. Additionally, out of how many of those documents were known to be relevant by TREC pre-assessors, if we round to the nearest whole number, we can see that the same accuracy of 3 documents were retrieved regardless of whether ads were there or not. However, looking at post-task accuracy, now this considered how many concepts participants could list that they had just learned from their search task, and this showed a significantly better performance for users in no ads. Here they retrieved an entire extra concept compared to users who learned information among searches with ads. Now, in terms of user experience, it was good to see that some variables were quite consistent between conditions. For example, users believed the tasks were similarly interesting and they didn't report any differences in tiredness. However, when no ads were visible, more positive experiences generally occurred, such as participants enjoying the task more and thinking it was easier to complete. In contrast, when ads were present, negative feelings, such as feeling significantly more frustrated or annoyed, occurred. However, a few positive experiences also occurred during ad presence, where participants believed the system was more engaging and less boring. So bringing everything together, let's compare my results to the original expectations. Firstly, like other studies, we also found that web pages with ads were perceived as more annoying. But this did not result in users ignoring them, because significant differences involving both time and post-task performances were found, and this is similar to previous research on visual clutter. However, I have applied a caution sticker here because ads did not affect all measures of task performance. Moving on, in terms of the expectation that ads create a negative search experience, this was supported as participants did believe that they had more difficulty completing the task during ad presence. And this was despite the fact that there were no actual concrete differences in the number of relevant documents that were being retrieved between conditions. So it does appear that participants had to expend more effort achieving the same results when ads were present. These results make sense because there is this concept called choice overload. And this states that humans are predisposed to distraction. And when they have to search through more content, this induces negative emotions. However, we shouldn't automatically say that, well, remove all ads and a user will feel better, because participants did believe that the system was significantly more engaging and less boring when ads were visible, even if this wasn't associated with increased accuracy. Therefore, in other contexts where, say, time or memory is not a critical factor, for example, maybe online shopping or browsing social media, then ads may provide a more positive user experience. But in a time-critical or learning task, then ads really should be minimized to help the user. So with this in mind, a long-term research plan should consider developing adaptive systems that can understand what kind of task a user is completing and then adapt the presentation of ads accordingly. However, that is a long way away, because although my study has provided a stable way to begin to understand how banner advertisements affect a user, my results cannot generalize onto other types of ads or in different amounts of quantity of ads or the locations of the ads or different contexts. Also, in my experiment, only 37 participants were analysed, and although they did consist of a large range of ages and genders and education, other factors of, say, individual differences were not considered. So that makes me think, would people with, say, dyslexia be more affected by ads because they are known to struggle more with visual processing? So further research is really needed to examine the best type, location and quantity of ad that can be visible to a user across a range of different search tasks without interrupting the user's main experience, behaviour and performance. So in conclusion, my cheer paper this year provides the first user study, to the best of my awareness, that quantifies how banner ads affect search from a user's point of view. I've shown that users are not completely banner blind, because participants do take significantly longer completing a search task when ads are present. They also recall less of what they've just learned, and they generally report more negative search experiences. So consequently, this study provides the first evidence that the negative effects of clutter, which is where the excess of visual stimuli overloads cognition, extends onto information seeking when ads are present. However, the current findings do hold promise for current designers that banner ads are not all bad, as they did not affect a user's accuracy at retrieving relevant documents, and they also made the search experience more engaging and less boring for a user. Therefore, if ways to minimize search time and improve recall are explored, future research could hopefully find a balance of what kind of ad can be displayed that allows both a positive experience and efficient performance for the user. I thought I'd end with some final advertising to the references and sources used in this presentation. Thank you very much for listening, and please feel free to contact me at any time to ask questions. Thank you.